The movie unfolds with the girl embarking on a journey to meet her date, an arranged date through the realm of virtual matchmaking. She finds herself in a taxi, engaged in a conversation with the driver, who regales her with tales of his brother in the army, though her mind seems distant and disinterested. As the taxi weaves through the bustling streets of the city, the girl arrives at her destination and enters the venue where her date, the guy, awaits. They exchange pleasantries, with the guy recounting his mother's complaints about his lack of a romantic partner. The guy, initially unexpectant, bids her a courteous farewell, but before he can depart, she stops him with the conviction that she believes his words. The man, taken aback, takes his seat once more, and their conversation continues. The girl shares with him that she has recently moved to the city from New York, and the guy expresses his surprise at the pleasantness of their encounter thus far, jesting that she has not yet fled from his company. They raise a toast, a gesture of warm welcome to the girl in her new surroundings. Inquisitive, she inquires about his profession, and he reveals that he is an app developer, though before he can elaborate further, their conversation is interrupted by the waiter. He turns to the girl, seeking her permission to order more drinks, to which she agrees, confessing that she has nowhere else to be. They continue to imbibe and toast to each other as the evening progresses. In the next scene, they find themselves in a taxi, their lips entwined in drunken kisses, with the guy occasionally attempting to interject, only to be silenced by the girl, who implores him to relish the moment. Upon arriving at their destination, the girl asks the guy about the bedroom, her desires emboldened by the effects of alcohol. The guy, comprehending her intentions, directs her upstairs, and they find themselves on the bed, engaged in fervent, passionate lovemaking. Heedless of the cacophony of police activity outside, they declare an imminent threat that eludes their consciousness in the throes of passion. The scene unfolds with the girl, in a state of turmoil, reclining on the bed, while the guy beside her snores obliviously. Abruptly, she rouses herself, noiselessly gathers her belongings, and descends the stairs. As she unlocks her phone, a deluge of notifications inundates her, leaving her staggered. Presently, the guy, barely awake and clad only in his undergarments, joins her, inquiring if all is well and perhaps hinting at breakfast. The girl looks at him with revulsion, her disdain palpable, before asking him about the TV, to which he gestures towards her. They switch on the television and sit in rapt attention as the President of the United States delivers a grave address. To their dismay, astonishment, and disappointment, the President reveals that the virus has spread rampantly, with scores falling ill and hospitals teeming with patients. In response, he has declared a nationwide lockdown, to last for a daunting span of 21 days, with assurances that provisions will be delivered to every home. He emphasizes the imperative need for strict adherence to these restrictions for the greater good. Both protagonists exchange anguished glances, unable to articulate their thoughts amidst mounting frustration and anxiety. In the ensuing scene, they spend the entire day frantically making phone calls to secure a means of transport for the girl to a safe haven, beseeching the guy to find a solution for her departure from his abode. Yet, despite their fervent efforts, every avenue appears to be a dead end, leaving the girl utterly devastated and her stress heightened to unbearable levels. Later, as the moon rises high in the sky, the girl and the guy depart from the dwelling in a desperate attempt to reach the place where the girl seeks refuge. They traverse the streets with cautious steps until a sight strikes them with fear. The police, clad in their protective regalia, stand sentinel on the path ahead. The guy halts the girl, urging her to proceed without casting her eyes upon the officers and to stealthily slip past them. Alas, their efforts are in vain, for the sharp-eyed officers spot them and call out, commanding them to return to their abode post-haste. The girl and the guy attempt to reason with the officers, explaining that the girl needs to return to her lodging at the hotel, but their pleas fall upon deaf ears. The situation grows increasingly tense as the officer engages in a struggle with the volunteer at his side who seeks to assert his limited authority. The volunteer grabs the wired communication device and urgently requests backup to apprehend the homeless couple. The officer frowns upon his brother-in-law's overzealousness and reprimands him, but in the commotion, the girl and the guy seize the opportunity to flee. As they make a desperate dash for freedom, the officer pursues them while the volunteer, gripped by fear, unleashes a stun gun upon the guy. The electric shocks course through the guy's body, causing him to convulse and cry out in agony, while the girl screams in horror. The officer struggles to bring the situation under control, but it is too late. The guy, overwhelmed by the shocks, collapses onto the ground, and in his distress, he even loses control of his bodily functions. The volunteer, realizing the consequences of his impulsive actions, flees in fear, leaving the officer to attend to the guy's plight. The subsequent scene depicts the girl and the guy within the abode of the latter. The guy is seated on a bench, partaking in his meal, while the girl appears to be fraught with stress due to the unexpected turn of events and her predicament. The guy extends an invitation for her to join him in dining, but she declines, instead taking a seat beside him, her agitation palpable. The guy advises her to come to terms with the current conditions and adapt until the end of the lockdown period. This incites the girl's anger, and she vehemently protests, refusing to spend 21 days in his company, and insisting that they must find a way to extricate themselves from this situation. The guy exacerbates matters by suggesting that the lockdown may extend beyond the initial 21 days, causing the girl to lose her composure and demand the source of this information. The guy casually mentions internet rumors, further inflaming the girl's fury. In the ensuing scene, the girl seeks solace in the shower, curling up in distress, overcome by the gravity of her predicament. She realizes with a heavy heart that she will be spending the whole period in the company of a stranger whom she had a fleeting dalliance with only a day ago. She emerges from the shower, in a towel, and approaches the guy. She concedes that she is trapped and has no immediate recourse, and thus resigns herself to adapting until a solution presents itself. She implores the guy to establish some ground rules to navigate this trying period together. The girl specifies her preferences, such as not chewing while eating and washing the dishes after use. She also extends an invitation for him to set his own rules, but he surprises her by declining. The girl seeks the guy's assistance in borrowing some of his clothes while hers dry. They retire to the guy's room, where she selects garments that he seldom wears. As night falls, they retire to their respective bedrooms, prepared to rest, each in their own solitude. The following morning, the girl steps into the kitchen, her heart light with anticipation for the day ahead. But her joy is short-lived as her eyes fall upon the guy, hunched over the computer, his gaze fixed on images that make her heart lurch. A surge of panic seizes the girl as she realizes the nature of the pictures that have captured the guy's attention. With trembling hands, she rushes to the kitchen counter, her mind racing. Her fingers close around the cold, steel handle of a knife, her only weapon against the unknown danger that seems to lurk before her. The guy, confused and caught off guard, tries to explain, but the girl's accusations come fast and fierce. She accuses him of being a serial killer, demanding to know what he intends to do to her, her voice sharp with fear and anger. The guy's own frustration and fear mirror in his eyes as he denies any malicious intent, explaining that he is merely browsing nudity reports on social media for his work as an app developer. Gradually, the girl's initial panic subsides, and she begins to believe the guy's explanation. She joins him at the computer, her heart still racing, as she seeks reassurance in his words. As the tension eases, the girl's stomach grumbles, and she asks the guy about breakfast. With a gesture towards the cereals, he points out their meager options. But her anger flares up again when she realizes the almond milk has run out, and she questions why he hasn't mentioned it earlier, before mentioning the cereals. She demands to know about food delivery, and the guy assures her that it will arrive in a couple of days. Frustration mounting, she laments that there is nothing left to eat. But the guy, ever resourceful, gets up and retrieves a bottle of almond milk from the shelf, offering it to her. He asks her gently for asking him and expresses his displeasure at being yelled at. Grateful, the girl thanks him, and her eyes fall upon a bottle of wine on one of the shelves. Her delight is palpable as she exclaims that it is just what they need. But her excitement is short-lived as the guy takes the bottle from her, revealing that it is a special gift from his father when he graduated, with instructions to use it for a truly momentous occasion. He returns the bottle to its place, and when she suggests that his father could get him another, the guy's expression darkens, revealing doubt. In the quiet solitude of her chamber, the girl receives a call from her place of employment. At first, her face reflects elation, but her joy is soon extinguished as she learns that, due to the dire circumstances of the pandemic, her long-awaited employment offer has been rescinded. The company's financial constraints prevent them from hiring new employees, as conveyed to her by debtor, who expresses her regrets while absolving herself from any responsibility for the decision. The girl's heart sinks, and she crumples onto her bed, overcome by despair. She spends the entire day in her bedroom, reclining on her bed, engulfed by despondency. Suddenly, she hears a scream from the guy, and she springs into action, rushing to his side, fearing the worst. But to her surprise, she finds him engrossed in a video game, an activity she had not expected from someone of his maturity. She scorns the notion, deeming it a pursuit more suited to children. The guy retorts, suggesting that she broaden her perspective before dismissing an entire industry worth billions of dollars. With that, she retreats to her chamber, leaving him to his games. Later, the girl's friends reach out to her through video chat, inquiring about her well-being. She confides in them, revealing that she is stranded at a stranger's abode. When asked about him, she jests, recounting his idiosyncrasies, including his penchant for video games, his noisy eating, and his derisive remarks about his own job. Her friends join in the mirth, teasingly comparing him to the infamous Jeffrey Dahmer. Unbeknownst to them, the guy overhears their conversation from behind the door, clutching a tray of food he had prepared for her. Disheartened and disenchanted, he sets down the tray, knocks on the girl's door, and departs without a word. The girl opens the door, and upon seeing the thoughtful offering, she expresses gratitude for his kind gesture. The following morning, as the girl engages in her morning yoga routine, she is interrupted by the guy's loud conversation on the phone. Frustrated, she approaches him and requests that he use headphones. To her surprise, she realizes that he is speaking with his mother, who mistakenly assumes that the girl is his girlfriend. He bids farewell to his family and ends the call, and the girl apologizes for her assumption, explaining that she had thought he was playing video games again. The morning comes casting its warm rays into the kitchen, the guy busies himself with the task of preparing breakfast. Shortly after, the girl joins him, her eyes downcast and a heaviness in her heart. With a heavy sigh, she reveals to the guy that she has lost her job, her voice laced with sorrow. The guy, ever the comforting presence, tries to assuage her worries. He reassures her about the rent, but expresses concern about the expenses of electricity and water. In her distress, she can't contain her tears any longer, and they stream down her cheeks. The guy moves closer, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, hoping to alleviate her pain. In a moment of vulnerability, the girl finds solace in his embrace, and she hugs him tightly. He, caught off guard, pats her shoulder awkwardly, unsure of how to respond. But the girl holds on, her grip tightening, as if seeking refuge from her turmoil. The guy, torn between the urgency of the situation and the fear of burning the food on the stove, looks anxiously at the simmering pots and pans. With a sudden realization, they spring apart, their senses heightened by the blaring alarm that shatters the tranquility of the morning. They hasten to the windows and doors, seeking to stifle the intrusive noise, abandoning their breakfast preparations, and forgetting their hunger in the urgency of the moment. In an attempt to dispel the tension that hangs heavy in the air, the young man extends an invitation for a walk outside, a refuge from the chaos. They venture into the small garden that adorns the house, treading the same path repeatedly, lost in a labyrinth of conversation. The young man bares his soul, recounting his struggles as an app developer, the disappointments and fears that plague him. The young woman, touched by his vulnerability, reciprocates by confiding in him the pain of a past betrayal in a previous relationship, her voice tinged with melancholy. Amidst the rustling of leaves and the fragrant blooms of the garden, the young man reveals his longing for a love akin to that of his parents, where affection is unwavering and resolute. He speaks of his father's heart attack, a traumatic ordeal that has left an indelible mark on his soul. The young woman offers her condolences, her empathy reflected in the depths of her eyes. Together, they delve into the intricacies of relationships, musing on the concept of infidelity, with the young man expressing his unwavering belief that deceivers have no moral right to betray their partners. As they walk, the young woman feels a slight dizziness from the repetitive circles they have traced in the garden, and they decide to retreat indoors. In the later hours, the sight beholds the girl immersed in domestic duties, diligently washing the dishes, making the beds, and tending to the household chores. Her nimble hands skillfully wipe and clear the grounds, and her eyes are often seen scanning the pages of books, seeking knowledge and inspiration. She even turns to the modern realm of YouTube, watching tutorials to transform men's clothing into women's garments, and then deftly sewing and cutting, creating unique outfits with unconventional shapes that pique curiosity. Meanwhile, the guy reclines on his bed, engaged in conversation with a friend. The friend laments about his mischievous children and their demanding ways, while the guy, in his wisdom, reassures him that they are still toddlers, still learning and growing. However, the friend remains unconvinced, and turns the conversation towards the girl. He acknowledges her admirable qualities, confesses that she has a quick temper. The friend warns him, citing the old adage that with age, women tend to become angrier. The following day, the girl indulges in a refreshing shower, and decides to tend to her personal grooming by shaving her armpits. Alas, she finds herself without a proper shaver, and in a moment of impulse, she resorts to a knife, only to inadvertently injure herself in the process. Despite the mishap, she later finds herself on the balcony, where the guy, perched atop the rooftop, greets her with a salute. The girl humbly asks if she may join him, and the guy warmly agrees. When she arrives on the rooftop, the girl offers sincere apologies to the guy for her previous outbursts, expressed not only on this day, but also the morning before and the day before that. He, displaying graciousness, accepts her apology with open arms. In a sudden burst of curiosity, the girl brings a CD and queries him about its origin. With a nostalgic gleam in his eye, the guy reveals that he was once part of a rap rock group in his youth, much to her admiration. In a moment of spontaneity, the duo decides to put on the CD and embark on an impromptu dance. Their bodies sway to the rhythm, brimming with energy and joy as they revel in each other's company. When the night draws near, and he lies in bed, ready to surrender to sleep's embrace, the girl approaches him with a request. The other bed, she claims, is far from comfortable, and she seeks his company. He, with a willing heart, makes room for her and places a pillow between them, a barrier to mark the divide. And so, they sleep side by side. The next morning, the girl, ever the disciplined one, engages in her daily practice of yoga, while the guy, with uncontainable enthusiasm, immerses himself in the world of video games. Yet, when the girl ventures into the kitchen, she is met with a sight that dismays her, a sink filled with unwashed dishes. Without hesitation, she takes it upon herself to cleanse the soiled utensils, bringing cleanliness to their culinary domain. Soon after, a knock on the door heralds the arrival of a food package, a delightful surprise for the duo. With shared excitement, they open it together, inspecting its contents with joy. And as their days of living together pass, they find themselves learning from each other, imbibing good habits through mutual influence. The girl, with her wisdom, teaches the guy the art of using the dishwasher, and together, they collaborate in maintaining a spotless kitchen. On the 9th day, as morning unfolds, the guy, with a newfound resolve, joins his companion in her yoga practice, attempting to achieve balance, but finding himself falling short. The guy eagerly shares his love for video games with the girl, patiently guiding her through the intricacies of the virtual world, reveling in the joy of introducing her to his favorite pastime. They watch movies together, cry together, or find solace in each other's embrace. They share meals, sing songs, and dance, reveling in the enchantment of each other's company, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. And then, one day, the guy takes the girl by the hand, gently covers her eyes and leads her to their bedroom. As she opens her eyes, she is met with a mesmerizing sight, lights twinkling from the ceiling, a display that leaves her awestruck. The guy reveals that he remembers their first date, where she expressed a desire to learn something new. And so, he has prepared to teach her the two-step. With tenderness, he guides her steps, moving to the rhythm of the music. Scientifically, the girl muses. It is said that spending 5 minutes gazing into each other's eyes and asking questions leads to falling in love. She proposes they do the same, and the guy readily agrees, for he has already fallen under her spell. And so, they behold each other, delving into the depths of their souls, their hearts swelling with affection, realizing the profound significance of each other's presence in their lives. Overwhelmed by a sudden surge of emotion, the girl's heart pounds against her chest as she reaches out and cradles the guy's face in her delicate hands. Pulling him towards her, she initiates a fervent kiss, bearing her soul along with a long-held secret. Her words flow with raw honesty, revealing that she cheated on her ex-fiancé. The guy listens intently, absorbing her confession in silence, his eyes locked onto hers. After a moment, he speaks, his voice, as he recalls a childhood memory of a despised fishing trip with his cousin which does not make him a fisherman. The girl nods, her heart swelling with comprehension of the message he is trying to convey. With newfound clarity, the guy admits that he, too, has feelings for her, leaning in to kiss her passionately. Their longing ignites, and they are consumed by the intensity of the moment, their desires guiding them to the bedroom, where they indulge in each other's embrace, savoring the intimacy illuminated by the soft light of dawn. The following morning, the girl's phone rings, interrupting her sleep. She answers it by mistake, only to quickly hang up. Her ex is on the other end, and she rushes downstairs to call him back, but miscommunication and anger taint their conversation. In the midst of the chaos, the guy, still appears, catching the attention of the girl's ex. Panic flashes in the guy's eyes, and the girl urgently urges him to put on some clothes, trying to diffuse the tension. As the girl's ex questions her about the guy, she denies any wrongdoing, but the palpable tension between them hangs heavy in the air. Desperate for some fresh air and an escape from the situation, the girl opens the door, only to be greeted by a shocking sight. A man and a woman in overalls stand before her. Her scream pierces the air, and the guy rushes to the door, only to be met with startled looks from the strangers. His adds to the absurdity of the situation, leaving everyone bewildered and flustered. The scene feels like a farce, with awkward tension and confusion. The next scene unfolds on the veranda, where both the guy and his girl sit alongside their neighbors, wearing their modest coveralls. Silence hangs in the air as they gaze at each other with fleeting glances. After a brief pause, the man breaks the stillness, offering them some jerky to partake in. However, both protagonists politely decline, their disinterest evident in their expressions. The man and his wife express their loneliness, revealing that they are accustomed to socializing, which is why they have come to visit, seeking interaction and communication. They thank them for opening their doors to them. Yet, despite the visitors' well-meaning intentions, the guy and the girl seem bored and unengaged in the conversation. Just as the guy turns to the girl to suggest leaving, they are interrupted by their neighbors' persistent requests for them to stay. The woman among the neighbors implores them to share the tale of how they met, insisting they join them for a night game. Obliging reluctantly, the guy and the girl begin recounting their 17 years of marriage, which only seems to deepen their boredom. But then, suddenly, amidst the mundane anecdotes, the mention of an extended lockdown sends the female protagonist into a fit of panic, unleashing a shrill scream that echoes into the night, catching everyone off guard. The scene then shifts to the guy's home, where they sit in the living room. The girl implores the guy to call the Wi-Fi company to fix the signal issue that has been plaguing them. However, the guy refuses, citing his repeated attempts to fix it in the past. Frustrated, Guy sits down to catch his breath, while the girl takes matters into her own hands, attempting to resolve the Wi-Fi problem herself. When the guy brings up his insecurities, questioning if he is merely a rebound for the girl, she denies it vehemently. But he persists, accusing her of taking advantage of him, despite her ongoing conversation with the Wi-Fi customer service team on the phone. The miscommunication only escalates as the guy misunderstands the girl's responses, thinking they are directed at him, which further exacerbates the tension between them. She tries to clarify that she is on the phone, but the guy remains unconvinced, accusing her of calling her ex-boyfriend. She, in turn, defends her past relationship of 8 years as normal, but he retaliates by claiming she has mocked him to her friends. He further confesses believing he is not worthy of a beautiful woman like her. The exchange turns acrimonious as they try to make her feel guilty, and he fires back, calling her a cheater who does not deserve love. The frustration of not being able to reach the Wi-Fi customer service adds to the turmoil. The guy, unable to handle the situation any longer, storms off, leaving her alone in tears, feeling heartbroken and abandoned. In the ensuing scene, the guy finds himself hunched over his computer, immersed in the digital realm. When the girl enters the kitchen, her face is fraught with dismay as she beholds the mountain of unwashed dishes. With a swift and deliberate motion, she plucks one, only to let it slip from her grasp, the dish shattering into countless fragments upon the floor. The guy starts in fear, his eyes locked upon her as she repeats the act with another dish, the cacophony of destruction filling the air. Without a word, she departs, leaving him. Later, she finds solace in her bedroom, engrossed in the pages of a book, when she is beset by an eerie sound. She emerges from her room, only to discover Guy, apple in hand, munching and crunching with gusto into the microphone, much to her revulsion and ire. In an act of retaliation, she takes a carton of milk stands in the garden, and when the guy comes to her, asking for it, she only pours it on the ground in a spiteful gesture. And so, the two continue to goad and provoke each other, the flames of their conflict ever burning. In a subsequent scene, the guy, disheartened and forlorn, confides in his neighbor, bemoaning the wounds inflicted upon his heart by women. He ponders if the fault lies within himself. His neighbor imparts sage counsel, advising him that to keep harmony in his relationship with women, he should always agree with her and apologize. Back at home, after an arduous wait, the Wi-Fi finally returns, bringing a sense of relief to the girl's troubled mind. Yet the tension between her and her roommate remains, like an unspoken storm brewing on the horizon. In a poignant moment, the guy finds himself seated in the solitude of the bathroom, reaching out to his friend through a video chat. He seeks counsel on navigating the complexities of life with a partner. His friend, a sage in matters of the heart, shares that though he cannot fully fathom the enigmatic Catherine, his wife, and despite her flaws and unwarranted outbursts, he still loves her. He imparts the wisdom that true love embraces imperfections, leaving the guy deep in contemplation. The night deepens, and the girl finds herself in her room, indulging in mindless videos, while the guy is immersed in the glow of his video games in his own quarters. Abruptly, their phones chime in unison, jolting them from their screens. With trepidation, they descend the stairs to the living room, where the president's solemn announcement echoes through the airwaves. The lockdown, already prolonged due to the staggering death toll, is to be extended for yet another week. The girl, overcome with despair, breaks into tears, yearning to return to her family. The guy, moved by her distress, offers a comforting pat on her trembling shoulders. The days crawl on, and when the 21st day arrives, the girl lays listlessly on the couch, lost in her thoughts. The guy approaches her with 2 cups clinking with promise, catching her attention. She inquires about his intentions, and he reveals his desire to share the bottle of wine as a gesture of goodwill, since they are bound together in this challenging time, unable to fall in love. The girl hesitates at first, but his earnestness wins her over. They share the wine, their tensions melting away with each sip, and embark on days of unexpected camaraderie. They play games together, sing in unison, concoct drinks with abandon, and even dare to try their hand at playing the piano. They laugh uproariously, taking a swig every time the news mentions the dreaded virus. Their inhibitions loosen, and they receive an unexpected delivery of from a drone. However, their inexperience with smoking leaves them in fits of coughing and giggles. In a mischievous moment, the girl suggests they throw toilet paper at their neighbors, Joe and Nancy's, house. They giggle like children as they throw the rolls, but their fun is cut short when Joe appears with a gun, causing them to flee in a panic. Undeterred, they continue to share ideas, stories, and meals together. In a moment of drunken revelry, they swap roles, with the guy donning makeup and girly clothes, while the girl dresses in men's attire. Their laughter turns to sudden silence as they gaze into each other's eyes, and their lips meet in an impulsive kiss. In the morning, bursts of fireworks and jubilation outside their window rouse them from their sleep. The news on TV confirms that a vaccine has been discovered, and the lockdown is officially lifted. As they stand by the front door, ready to part ways, the girl expresses her gratitude to him for being her companion throughout the arduous lockdown. The guy, with a heavy heart, acknowledges that their relationship has not blossomed as they had hoped, and that it is time to move on. They share a heartfelt embrace, bidding each other farewell, as the taxi arrives. And so, their unexpected journey comes to an end, leaving behind memories of a unique bond forged during an unforgettable time. In a pall of gloom, the young woman embarks on a journey. Meanwhile, the guy makes his way back to his house, his face shrouded in melancholy. The final picture unfolds in a coffee shop, where the gentleman strides towards the young maiden, their reunion long awaited after a prolonged separation. Both wear masks upon their countenances, a reflection of the prevailing viral scourge that afflicts the world. He divulges that he has forsaken his former occupation and now toils as an app developer. Inquisitive, he queries about her recent endeavors, and she reveals that she has secured a dwelling and is amidst the 4th round of interviews with a prospective employer. Curious, he asks if she has found new love, to which she demurs, explaining that she has sought solace in solitude. In turn, he confides that he is exploring a connection with a lady from a dating app, uncertain of where it may lead. As he observes the woman's anxious demeanor, he offers words of comfort, reminiscing about the time they spent together. He expresses remorse for any actions on his part, but before the woman can interject, he continues, stating that their relationship would not have endured. His words abruptly stop as the woman suddenly lays a pregnancy test on the table. With bated breath, his gaze fixates on the test, his mind awash with thoughts as he strives to comprehend the situation. Tears well up in his eyes as he meets the woman's gaze, and in that poignant moment, they exchange a profound glance that reassures their souls. Their conversation continues, leaving us to ponder whether their shared bond will be rekindled and if they will stand united for the sake of their unborn child's future, with love reawakening and blooming anew. And let us keep in mind, as we traverse life's ceaseless and enigmatic path, that it unfailingly unveils its wonders to us, revealing the eternal truths of its mysteries.